This is what it may have looked like during Operation Desert Storm. The Army and Air Force brought out attack aircraft using live ammunition in a training exercise. The A-10 Thunderbolt and Apache helicopter dominated the skies downrange today.
You know, you use the aircraft, the helicopters and the aircraft, the A-10 specifically, to go in and basically stop the tanks where they were. And as they stopped the tanks, then the ground troops could move forward without meeting any resistance there.
The live fire exercise is a kickoff for more training, including stints at the National Training Center in California.
You could hear them, too.
And if that doesn't sound important, Robert Forrest tells us it's the difference between victory and defeat.
The war is over, but being ready for another one seems like a good idea. And though this mock battle takes place on an Army post, it's a multi-force engagement. When the military does its thing, it does it best when everyone gets in the game. And today, only the Navy can't play.
The bottom line is to combine all the assets, being the Air Force assets, Army aviation assets, and ground forces, to use mass firepower to destroy the enemy.
Of all the hardware in the field, only the A-10 Thunderbolts aren't carrying any live ammo. Everything and everyone else is. They're aiming at an enemy that can't fire back, but it still must be a carefully controlled exercise.
They're right there, they're right there.
Just ask Sergeant Kerry James, an air traffic controller.
A lot of things could happen. I mean, we got a lot of people's lives and money involved in our hands and stuff. It's a big responsibility. But it's a natural high when you have all the control of these people.
Our vantage point is a good 2 miles from the action, but radios clue us into the battle. Sure, enemy here can't fight back, and it'll take a couple of days for observers to evaluate the pretend fight. But no doubt, mock fights like this help win wars. Robert Forrest, 11 News at 10.
And those A-10 Thunderbolt tank killers are stationed out of Nellis Air Force Base. We'll be back in a moment.
Force in return presented Army Major General Tom Jocko with a plaque. Today's ceremonies included a military display and an Air National Guard flyover. And coming up,
weekend Rambos. In the wake of the Gulf War, though, there's more respect for Army reservists and National Guardsmen as they take part in their so-called war games. Ed Filmer reports on the Weekend Warriors in action.
An Air Force A-7 bombing enemy targets. An Army Cobra firing on hostile forces. And a soldier's son playing like he's bombing with pebbles.
And to do this is actually very exciting. You probably see a lot of pumped up troops.
It's a grandstand war, Fort Carson, Colorado, Saturday afternoon. The National Guard invited their families to watch the war games.
Targets off your nose, lead, cleared hot.
They demonstrated tactics and weapons used in Iraq, blasting away at targets a couple of miles from the spectators.
Continue to.
A combined exercise between Air Force and Army, the first since the end of the Persian Gulf War.
But before the war, it's like reservists, they thought, oh, you guys would go down range, drink beer, you know.
Now that National Guard units have proven themselves in combat, these part-time soldiers say civilians treat them with more respect.
It's a great difference. When I came home from Vietnam, the only people that welcomed me home was my mother, father, a little sister, and a little brother. This time, every soldier that's come home has received a welcome.
The adage when I came in 1981 was we were all either too dumb to go to college or too lazy to get a job or all on dope, and I don't see that anymore. There's a lot of pride in what we do.
The soldiers say before the Gulf War, they often had a hard time at work asking their bosses for time off to train or volunteer for missions.
Hit leads bombs too, you're cleared hot.
A few reported losing their jobs after returning from active duty. But now they say it's better to be a weekend warrior.
Yeah, they still call us weekend warriors, but they have respect when they say it now.
Ed Filmer, 9 News, Fort Carson, Colorado.
This military exercise did have a purpose other than public relations. It was to train pilots of jets and helicopters so they can attack targets without getting into each other's way.